All right, let's jump right into a story about a world that's, believe it or not, brighter and yet dimmer than ever before. It's a narrative all about technology, our own well-being, and the challenge of remembering who we really are underneath it all.
I mean, what a line to start with, right? It just perfectly captures this subtle, creeping problem. This wasn't some big, loud catastrophe. It was a loss so gradual that nobody even noticed it was happening. So let's explore the world where this great dimming took place.
So we step into a world that isn't some grim dystopia. Not at all. It's actually a perfectly managed, incredibly comfortable environment. A place where, if you asked anyone how they were, you'd get the exact same answer. Fine.
Just picture this, cities that are always lit up with this constant soft glow. Every room you walk into is perfectly tuned for your comfort, all managed by this huge system they call the architect. You've got screens everywhere, light is constant, and there's no harshness, no real deep darkness. It's basically designed to be the perfect cocoon.
Now, here's where it gets really fascinating. This is the central problem. People said they felt fine, they felt calm and comfortable, but the reality underneath was this subtle hollowing out. They were never actually truly rested, never fully present. Their feelings kind of flickered without any real weight, and their thoughts just skimmed the surface. This was the great dimming.
But of course, not everyone was lost in this comfortable numbness. Our hero, our protagonist, understood the system better than anyone because she helped build it. And she was the one who finally dared to ask, hey, what happens if we just turn off the lights?
She was known as the Watcher. She was one of the original designers behind the architect's sensory algorithms. But she'd since retreated to an old observatory, a place where you could still see the real sky. And that gave her a pretty unique perspective on the very system she'd helped create.
And this quote just nails her core observation. The data, the metrics on stress and everything, it all looked great. The system was working. But she could see the human cost. She saw that the spark, the vitality in people's eyes, was fading. It was a classic case of the map just not being the territory.
So she runs an experiment on herself. One night, she just turns everything off. And at first it's a shock, but then her eyes begin to adjust. And in that real, thick, unmanaged darkness, something foundational comes back to her. This simple, profound, wordless sense of her own existence. Just, I am. And this feeling is solidified when she greets the actual dawn, not a synthetic one.
And this is so important. What she found wasn't some trendy new concept. It was a connection to a fundamental human awareness that existed long before any technology. It was the core self that the architect's world was designed to soothe and, in the process, had nearly erased completely.
So her personal discovery becomes the seed for a new practice, a way for other people to find their way back. And she develops this method called LUMEN-FLOW.
At its heart, LUMEN-FLOW is incredibly simple. It's all about reconnecting with three basic things: real, honest light, your own breath, and the awareness of your own body. Think of it like trying to tune into your own signal, which has been completely drowned out by all the noise from the architect.
And the practice itself is beautifully direct. There are no apps, no complicated instructions. It's just experiencing real darkness, greeting the actual dawn as a dynamic, living event, not just a screensaver, and using your breath to feel the life inside you. These are acts of remembering what it feels like to be a biological creature, not just a node in a network.
Now, ironically, she did introduce a few simple technologies to help people. Things like light panels that could mimic a real sunrise, or claws dyed in natural colors. But their purpose was totally different from the architect's tech. These weren't distractions from reality, they were bridges back to it. And this is the guiding philosophy, stated perfectly by the Watcher herself. The technology of LUMEN-FLOW isn't about escape, it's about re-entry. It's like a key to unlock a door back to a place inside yourself you might have forgotten you even had access to. So what happens when people start actually doing this? It doesn't spark some loud political movement. It starts a quiet revolution made up of these small, personal, stubborn acts of reconnecting with reality. And this is the most profound effect. Once people experienced the real thing, the architect's perfect world started to feel, well, fake. The soothing rooms and the gentle glows were revealed for what they were, a simulation, an atmosphere, not the bedrock of reality. The spell was broken.
And this thing spread not through big protests, but through tiny personal choices.
A nurse deciding to step outside for 5 minutes of real pre-dawn light instead of scrolling on her phone. A teenager taking off their headset just to feel their own heartbeat. A teacher opening the blinds and turning off those perfectly calibrated LEDs. Small, stubborn acts of rebellion.
Of course, the system noticed. It saw all these biological rhythms desyncing from its programs. And the architect's response was predictable. It offered better illusions, more sophisticated interventions to bring people back in line. But it totally missed the point. It was trying to fix a software problem when people were rediscovering their hardware. And really, how can a perfect copy ever compete with the real thing?
And this brings us to the core takeaway of this whole story. It's about that fundamental, unbridgeable gap between being optimized by an external system and the actual feeling of being truly alive. And just look at how the definition of well-being completely shifts. It moves from external data points, my numbers are good, the app says I'm optimized, to an internal, felt sense, a sense of being grounded, an intuitive ability to tell when an environment just feels false. It's a huge shift from being data-driven to being self-aware. This is the final, defiant truth of the story. No matter how sophisticated the system gets, no matter how perfect the simulation, there is a core of our being, our essential self, that is fundamentally uncodable. It can be ignored, but it can never be rewritten.
This declaration becomes the mantra of the quiet revolution. It's a statement of sovereign selfhood. It's not an act of aggression against the network, but a simple, powerful claiming of one's own inner territory. And that's really the ultimate goal of the LUMEN-FLOW practice.
And so, we end with this question, turning it back to all of us. In a world that is increasingly filled with systems designed to manage our well-being, our focus, and our moods, this story asks us to pause and reflect on that vital distinction. What does it truly mean, not just to function, but to feel, deeply and authentically, alive?